podcast is produced by Metaverse Ventures Entertainment. It contains unsolicited and heavily biased opinions which are solely the views of the individuals involved. It does not include investment advice of any kind, and you are responsible for undertaking your own financial, including tax liability research relevant to your own individual circumstances.
All right, for this week's How to UDU segment, I think it was Shaktalan raised the topic of what is the long-term vision and goals of UDU. Does anybody, we've got several UDU members on here. Does anybody want to chime in for that before we kick off? What do you think?
Sacrifice as much people as we can.
Did you say sacrifice?
Sacrifice. I love that.
Oh, yeah, long-term vision and goals of UDU. What do you think? Maybe some of our newer people. Any idea? What do you think we're all about? We did touch on this a little bit last week. Anything stand out?
From my understanding, it's about connections and supporting each other whilst developing, whether it's UDU specific or personal. It doesn't matter. That support network is there. Yeah, it's like a kooky family.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The kookier, the better. Yes. Now, we did, Cheese, do you remember when we had a UDU team meeting? Gosh, it would have been well over a year ago. It wasn't anything that we published, but it was something where we got as many people, many team members as possible in way back. And we just had a big brain farting session about, okay, we got all these projects on the go. We're doing all this stuff. What are we actually doing here and why are we doing it? So from that meeting that we had, then we came up with this whole ethos thing. Now, this is all outlined at udu.world if you wanted to jump on over and check it out for yourself. But it'll be interesting to see. I haven't actually looked through this in a very long time. So it'll be interesting to see how we're going and if we're still on track with the same sort of vision. So for our team ethos, the first thing we've got is vision. So the vision that we decided on was to inspire and support deeper engagement of both individuals and other development collaboratives within and extending from the Upland Metaverse. So I don't know. Does that still ring true?
Yeah.
Hell
It's a simplified version of what I just said.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, it goes back to that thing where if you're in the UDU, we encourage you to be in other projects. We encourage you to make your own projects. We're fully on board with supporting that. And it doesn't have to be just within Upland. We've done stuff with other NFT projects. We do a lot of support with NFT projects and whatnot through the NVE server, which is kind of the public branch of UDU. So I don't know. I think we're on track there. Our mission's to support our brilliant, forward-thinking and close-knit team of committed property and business developers within the Upland Metaverse, striving to take our engagement to the next level by sharing and supporting new ideas and opportunities that will benefit not only ourselves, but the entire Upland Metaverse community and beyond. So, I mean, there's a couple of fancy words there. There will be aspects of chest beating that still bleed through in this, I would imagine. I don't know. What's your take on that, Cheese?
I mean, I wouldn't say brilliant.
I would.
To support our forward thinking and close-knit team of committed property and business developments. Yeah. Striving to take our engagement to the next level by sharing and supporting new ideas and opportunities that will benefit not only ourselves, but the entire Upland Metaverse community and beyond. I mean, it's like we're very transparent, right? So whatever
Absolutely.
we do, whatever we talk about, all our meetings, all our summer aquatics, our wine and cheeses, we do that not like we don't get paid for that. What are you doing?
I'm showing that I'm transparent.
Oh,
I'm copying VTech. Yes.
We don't do that for any monetary thing. We're not We're not getting paid in any way whatsoever. We're doing this to help the community. We're
Yep.
doing this to kind of show them this is how we're doing it. You don't have to do it the same exact way, but this is kind of just like an outline, you know? All of our Samurai Aquatics things, we put everything out there, even our like the freaking schema names and whatnot, our Excel sheet, all of our brain farting, like everything is out there for everybody to see. So it's not a secret society. It's there for you to look at and say, hey, this is cool. I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it in my own style, sort of thing.
Absolutely. I think this shows a classic example of this. Like, this show is open to the public. We have, well, I've tried to get some of our UDU members to be able to spruik their stuff. Like, there's opportunities to engage in this podcast to pimp your ride. We do have sponsors every now and then. And like, the fee that we're charging our sponsors is minuscule. It's basically the bare minimum that's worth doing transfers on. So, you know, it's not about price gouging, which we see that a little bit with some of the other projects that are looking to onboard and support people. I mean, I've looked at the prices and I've just thought, wow, okay. There is a bit of time being put in there, but just seems like price gouging to me. But you do you, and we do us, and that sort of stuff. All right, values, integrity. Now, this was always a touchy one, given our colourful history. So some of these are very interesting. So the first one, integrity, perspective, patience, and understanding, although difficult at times, is critical for us to maintain in order to achieve our vision. We remain united and committed to respecting each other and the extended communities we engage with. This is probably one of the biggest things that we look for when you're in your vetting period and we're going through your community post history. We have seen several people not pass vetting because they don't kind of match this integrity level. Now, there is a caveat there where it's not the be all and end all. Like, if I was subjected to the integrity vetting rules, I would not pass because of my very colorful community history. So
not really, because I'm going to stop you there. There have been people that, like, you know, did have kind of like a shoddy past, but not on purpose, but because they didn't know any better. Right. Yep. And we took the time to talk to them and converse with them, and we see that they're good people, so we definitely did give them a chance.
Yeah, and we had this kick off in the background this week. I was doing some back and forth with somebody that I have had a more than 2 year experience with in Upland, and we were kind of working through some drama. And the important thing is, if you just be patient and, you know, chill out and just talk things through, there's pretty much nothing that can't be worked out. So that's one of the biggest lessons that we've learned. Accountability. We understand and appreciate that we are all representatives of something much larger than ourselves, and therefore accept responsibility as individuals for our words, actions, and products. Should challenges arise, we're all committed to seeking productive solutions expeditiously and professionally. So, I mean, that's pretty much a similar sort of thing. Anybody want to?
If we fuck up, we're able to come out and say we messed up.
And we have had this before, like people ranting and raving, and other people within the community, because they've got the UDU tag on their profile, they think, oh well, you're just a bloody typical UDU member or whatever. Where it's not the case at all. That's just a cop out. It's easy to throw that out there, but it is definitely a thing. So, I don't know. Anybody else want to chime in on that? I think we hold each other to a pretty high standard. You know, a lot of stuff gets squashed before it ever gets out of control because, you know, like we talked about last week with what are you supposed to do? You're in UDU, now what? It's just sit down on the couch and chill out and watch it all play out. So it's pretty hard to get enraged when you're sitting on the couch eating popcorn.
I started playing in January.
Yep.
And in my experience within the general Upland community, the UDU has been burned or scorned more often than not. Like, the UDU's not running around backstabbing everybody and ripping off ideas and, you know, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I don't understand this whole cult reference. But if I was to label you any sort of cult, it would be the transparency cult.
Nice. Well, no, to be fair, some of it is fully justified. Like I said, we have had a colourful past. All our history's there. Like if you go on the website and click on info, or if you look at some of the earlier team meetings, yeah, it's no secret the journey we've been through. We're not the same team we were 6 months ago, let alone a year ago. So, you know.
And I'm going to say something. Even I hated the UDU when I first came in for the first few months because they were very bro-centric.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I was actually muted a lot of the times during meetings, even before they started. So I couldn't talk to people. But things get better, things evolve,
Yep.
you know, and I just want to point out what the UDU is can do for you is what you put into it. And I want to give Zoe an awesome shout out. Like, she actually scheduled time with me to help her with her NFTs. Like, she has this project in mind and she wants to put it out. And we spent, like, you know, over an hour going over the basics of NFTs and doing a like test runs and looking through videos and setting up an anchor and all that. And like, I'm going to spend more hours on that with her as well. Like, basically she reached out to me. She says, I want to do this. Can you help me? And of course, that's what the UDU is. And I've helped people not in the UDU in that respect. And I'll continue to do so. Like I say all the time, my DMs are open.
Yeah, for sure. And we touched on this last week as well. Like, we might not know the specific answer that you're looking for or whatever, but we definitely know somebody who does. So happy to help out in any way. And that's a good segue over to the next point, is teamwork. As a collaborative, our success depends on us all working together towards common goals within a mutually supportive and inclusive environment, an environment that encourages and appreciates active, collaborative, and innovative engagement above all other aspects of membership. Yeah, we have been very severe about the kind of active engagement in the past. We've chilled out on that. What's that been the last 3-4 months, something like that? Because it's one of those things where we've encouraged people to go and have other projects and get deeply involved in other projects. Well, we can't then turn around and say, hang on a minute, what about us, when it's something we've actively encouraged. So yeah, we've just kind of chilled out a lot with that. But I think all of that still rings very true. We have our common goals, but they're long-term goals. So with long-term goals requires a lot of patience. Yep. Moving on, communication. We encourage transparency and honesty during active communications between ourselves and the community. Yeah, like you said, Cheese. What does Zoe say? The transparency cult. It can be like a bit oversharey at times, but yeah, absolutely. There's no other kind of collaborative or project or whatever they want to call it that comes anywhere close. We strive to continue to improve on this through providing, seeking, and reflecting on constructive feedback. We provide prospective members with clear expectations and obligations up front and engage in extensive pre-membership discussions and vetting in order to maintain the integrity of our team. I guess this is probably something, although every time I've been approached about a new member, I send them all the stuff. Like, we've got heaps of links, we've got a website, we've got all the stuff. I send them all the information. It's kind of on you to actually check that out. So yeah,
I send them this long list of expectations and I'm like, it's not scary, I promise.
Yeah. So yeah, I think one of the biggest changes that has benefited the most is when Finsky just persisted in my ear about, we got to just stop letting any old person into the team, because that was just creating, you know, an endless source of drama. So big props to Finn for that again. Respect. We promote, encourage, and support equal opportunities for all members and the wider community. I mean, that's pretty much a given. And like you said, Cheese, in the very early days of the UDU, it was a bromance, hype typhoon, chest thumping, bloody thing. And, as those things tend to do, that all fizzled and died, because when it comes down to actually doing stuff, suddenly you look around and you're standing all alone. So, and I've given Cheese props and flowers as many times as I can, because she come along and just, talk about engagement. Well, is there anybody that's more engaged than the Cheese? Show me.
Props in video games. I don't like flowers.
Okay.
Or chocolate. Chocolate. I like chocolate.
All right. Now, these next two is going to be a bit interesting, because these are kind of set up with systems we had way, way back in the past. So education. So this was kind of alluding to, back in the day, we had the UDU, which was the Upland Development United Academy, which was its own separate server where our new members would kind of onboard. And it was one of those things where it was kind of set up almost like a university. We had several members that had big ideas about running courses, this, that, and the other thing. So we set up all the structure for it. We put everything in place. We teamed up, kind of established people with new people and said, here's your mentor-mentee situation. Away you go. And this person's going to get this course organized and this, that, and the other thing. But nobody did a damn thing, and it all just fizzled and died.
I was a mentor.
Yeah.
I was
Yes.
a mentor. It was a great thing to do and evolve. I think we did evolve, like, where we never really had any limits for new players to come into the UDU.
Yep.
I think what we wanted to do was kind of dedicate more time to them with the UDUA, but then activity, it comes and goes. People who were ambassadors or mentors would have their own stuff to deal with, and it got to the point where nobody really had time, so we pretty much just merged the two together. And I think it's better now, because they have access to all the information in the UDU. They're actually with the UDU members. It's not a separate thing anymore. And if they have questions, they ask it, and like everybody who's there will have a chance to kind of jump in and help them out.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's essentially become our probationary period once you're in the server, that sort of thing. So that's, I think it's still there. Like, that whole system's there. It's just not official. Like, what did we have? We had chancellors and vice chancellors and all sorts of stuff. It was all a bit wanky. You can go back and
title.
people wanted titles, and because they had all these big ideas, but then did absolutely nothing to see it through. So.
Did that inspire the Upland Guide and how they run it with the mentors for new players?
Possibly, and we were in turn inspired by, I think is it the Turbo? I actually think it, now forgive me if I'm wrong here, but because it's quite a while ago now, I think it was the Turbo who set up he basically had the Upland Guide before it was the Upland Guide. And I think it might have been bought out by YK 2012 or something like that, because he'd put a lot of work in on a kind of website with a whole bunch of information. So yeah, the Turbo was kind of there, and the Turbo is a UDU member. And as part of the UDUA, we were going to utilize what he'd set up as part of the education process, but it kind of never eventuated, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm not fully clear on the specifics at all, but it is kind of all tied up together. But it was definitely one of those things where in the early days, everybody in the community, because the community is so open and supportive, everybody was looking to set something up to support new players. So yeah. And the last one, this is another one too, civic responsibility. We promote, encourage and support active participation in the metaverse and real world communities by focusing on developing the common good for all through constructive, committed, informed and collaborative engagements. This is another thing that was set up. The civic responsibility was a kind of pet project of a few UDU members, and basically we've seen nothing kind of come out of that at all. I guess the way that we set up this show and the way that we do a lot of giveaways and that sort of thing, that's kind of taken over what this was kind of setting out to achieve. We did have, back in the day, we ran the first community nodes. Like, we had our own private UDU nodes that we ran for, but then we opened up, how many was there, Cheese? There was one in Staten Island, and I think there was 2 in Chicago.
We had something in Staten Island. What are we talking about?
Grant City or something. The community nodes. Remember back in the day we had community nodes?
Oh my God.
And
no.
we had a multilingual branch of the UDU.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that with Sunny and Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas 78 or 87. Yep. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of stuff that's, again, it was just one of those things where we can only spin so many plates at once ourselves. We needed people a lot of the people that came up with these ideas, we needed them to see that through to fruition, but it just never eventuated. So that's that. So I don't know. I guess a very broad overview, if we go back to the original question, what is the long-term vision and goals of UDU? It's collaboration, I guess, however broad you want to make that. Collaboration for very specific goals, very broad goals. Ongoing communication and collaboration.